something to do. So yeah, I mean, improving repair mechanisms, standardizing, training and certification, having the right infrastructure, recycling, also providing for better health and consumer confidence through education. These are the things that will really improve the overall EV ecosystem, reduce the cost of ownership, be nice to the environment, and all of us will be driving fancy, stylish cars, and hopefully a lot more reusable.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode at Zamu Studios where we talk about high-tech industries, marketing and human talent. I'm Akash and we have Manish here with us today.
Hi, hi Akash.
It's nice to talk to you, Manish. Today we are going to be diving into the exciting new world of battery electric vehicles, and it happens to be a contradictory place also. We'll take a look at a video and understand why. Can we have this video, please?
In recent years, the automotive industry has heavily invested in electric vehicles, EVs, promoting them as a sustainable and cost-effective alternative to traditional combustion-powered vehicles. However, many EV owners are discovering a frustrating and costly reality. When their electric vehicles break down, the repair costs can be astronomical, leaving many to question whether it's even worth fixing them. This situation is fueling a wave of dissatisfaction and anger among EV owners, who find themselves trapped in a financial and technological dilemma. One of the primary selling points of electric vehicles has been long-term savings. EV manufacturers often promote the idea that these vehicles are cheaper to maintain because they don't require as many parts replacements as gas-powered cars. Without the need for oil changes, exhaust system maintenance, and other common mechanical repairs, EV owners expected to spend much less on upkeep. However, this expectation doesn't always match reality. While it's true that EVs require less maintenance in some areas, the cost of repairs when something does go wrong can be surprisingly high. The specialized components of an EV, such as the battery and electronic systems, are extremely expensive to repair or replace. This has led many owners to reconsider the financial benefits they hope to gain when purchasing an EV. The battery is the heart of any electric vehicle, but it's also the component that most concerns owners when it comes to repair costs. The lithium-ion batteries used in EVs are expensive to produce and replace. When a battery malfunctions or reaches the end of its life, the cost to replace it can easily run into the thousands of dollars, often representing a significant percentage of the vehicle's total value. The problem is compounded by the fact that, in many cases, batteries are not reparable. If a single cell within the battery pack fails, the repair often involves replacing the entire module, and it's not just the cost of parts that adds up. Labor is also a significant factor, as many mechanics are still not adequately trained to work on EVs, further driving up the repair bill. Another factor that is leaving EV owners extremely dissatisfied is the used electric car market. Because many of these vehicles are still relatively new to the market, consumers are beginning to discover the challenges associated with buying a used EV. When purchasing a used EV, the expectation is that the car still has a considerable lifespan. However, many buyers are finding themselves with battery and other costly component issues shortly after purchase. Because battery warranties typically only cover a limited period or a certain mileage, many new owners of used EVs are stuck with exorbitant repairs they didn't expect. One of the main reasons EV repair costs are so high is the lack of adequate infrastructure for servicing and repairing these vehicles. While EV manufacturers are making efforts to train technicians and mechanics, the reality is that there are still few shops qualified to work on EVs, especially outside of major urban centers.
So, Manish, it looks like battery energy vehicles, they are more expensive than ICEs after purchase also, right? Let's start with your vision. What do you think that by 2030, what does the landscape look like if everything goes well?
So first, I think it's a difficult thing for people to absorb that EV is actually expensive after purchase, because it is expensive at the point of purchase. But in reality, since you asked me about my vision is that eventually, it will just be that the EVs are better, cheaper, and more convenient, and more advanced vehicles overall. And the entire ecosystem, which includes purchasing, driving, maintaining, recharging, and even reselling will become materially better than internal combustion engines or ICEs. Today, it's already cheaper to produce a EV as compared to an ICE. I mean, it's well known that ICEs have a lot more moving parts and therefore they are expensive. Batteries are the most expensive part of EVs, and of course, there's technology development cost. But even today, EVs are cheaper than ICEs at the production point. And that's not just a marginal difference, it's a fundamental shift where electric is the economical choice from the get go. And in many countries, because of the whole point of incentives, it's already there. But
Aren't
since
we
you're
talking about
talking,
government subsidies?
yes, I am, but we'll get to that. You talked a little bit about the vision. So the vision is that ICs will reach full I mean, EVs will reach full cost parity with ICEs way faster than people have been expecting. As a matter of fact, Gartner is saying with just 2 years from now, 2027, it'll be cheaper to produce in every environment, not just the most scaled up one. Plus, companies are transforming their manufacturing operations. The
Right.
whole supply chain of it is coming. Battery manufacturing is becoming cheaper. So EV production will drop considerably in costs, and also battery costs will drop. So, one, it is already cheaper in certain places. Two, it will get cheaper. Overall, because of its convenience and styling, there is widespread EV adoption. The lower production cost is one, but in places like the EU, they're targeting getting to 80% of new car sales by 2030 to be EVs. So we're not talking about a new thing. We're talking about dominant,
Right. In
right?
5 years.
In 5 years, 100% by 2035. And Britain is taking one step forward. It's saying by 100% by 2030, in 5 years. They only want to be selling new cars that are EVs. Now, think about that. We've got 5 years. It's like saying what happened in 2020,
Yeah.
right? Just, we think of COVID as if it was just yesterday,
Yes.
right? And it's that quick. Plus, if you think about the environmental impact, right? We talk about total cost of ownership, and we only talk about the cost of ownership to the vehicle owner. But think about the cost of ownership for the society. Today about 14% of global greenhouse gas emissions are coming from the transport sector, right? So electric vehicles, not just cars, but all kinds of vehicles, trucks and scooters and three-wheelers, they will all account for drop in greenhouse gas
Yes.
emissions. And, you know, we expect that the major abatement will come from adoption of EVs in the transport sector. So that's kind of the vision. The vision is it'll become convenient, less pricey, easier to do, um, and also great for the overall environment.
Amazing. That really sounds amazing. What do you think is happening right now?
Well, we have a way to go. Gartner
Yeah.
gives us 2 years, the EU gives us five. But in reality, today, the
Yes.
repair costs for EVs are one of the hidden costs that people don't know. When you go and try to buy an EV, whether it's from, in the US, from a Tesla or from a Volvo or, you know, even the old German manufacturers are all doing EVs now. Or in India, if you're trying to buy it from the Mahindras and the Tatas, right,
Yeah.
which are doing very good cars now, the
Mm-hmm.
whole debate is about the cost of EV at the point of purchase
Mm-hmm.
and the cost of EVs dropping significantly at the point of running it because, after all, electricity is cheaper than fossil fuels. But what people don't know and what EV, people who are not EV enthusiasts are talking about is the cost of repair and battery damage.
As we saw in the video, actually, there are some people who do though.
Yeah. So, I mean, people are talking about it now
Yes.
because now it is not just, a fancy thing. Some people
No.
have been having EVs for long and they are
Yeah.
facing it, right? They have to replace battery. A battery going down is an extremely expensive cost. So, number of maintenance cycles are much lower in EV because they don't have that many mechanical parts.
Yeah.
But if you do end up having a issue with the motor or even more importantly with the batteries, one wrong cell and you pretty much have to kind of change everything, right? It could literally total your car. 30% expected increase. That's what Gardner says in the cost of repairs. That's not a marginal number. So that's the issue. So the total cost of ownership is actually higher not just because of the cost of the production and maybe the extra time and other things that you have to do for charging,
Yeah.
but it's also because of the repair costs, and that's something we should be cognizant of, and it has to be repaired. The repair costs have to be.
Right. So, I guess what you're trying to say is that it's when something goes wrong, in most of the cases, you can't get it repaired. You have to replace it, right?
Yeah, you technically can, but right now, because the speed at which the EV battery is actually just evolving, right? Plus the fact that the whole ecosystem of people who would actually repair an EV is not yet set. Insurance companies are just deciding to knock the whole car off if some fundamental issue is happening, right?
Yes.
So that's increasing insurance costs. And even though not everyone is going through a breakdown, but the rate of breakdowns is leading to increased insurance costs for everyone. And while there are certain places like Norway and South Korea and even United States where there is a significant amount of incentives given and there is a scale advantage, in places like India, which is the most populous country, and EVs are already expensive, the EV repair ecosystem will make it even more difficult. So the delta of the EV production cost and the infrastructure around EV charging, that is making the total cost of ownership of EVs going down, but the cost of repair and insurance is not. That's
It's not.
actually. Mhm.
So, Manish, let me try to understand. Total cost of ownership is higher for EVs than the ICEs. People are slowly and steadily getting to know about this. This can hamper the EV adoption rates. How do you think we should approach this situation? What can we do to bridge the gap between the total cost of ownership of EVs and ICEs?
Well, it's like any strategic problem solving, right? You gotta start with looking at the cost component. So it's
Yeah.
repair costs,
Mm-hmm.
it's battery costs,
Mm-hmm.
it's the cost of the infrastructure, and it's a cost of telling everyone to scale up, right? The consumer confidence. So there is the repair infrastructure cost, right? Like we have to work on repair cost. How do you do it? You change the number of components and the number of types. So you bring down standardization into battery design, into sensors and other things, and you expand the charging infrastructure, right?
How does standardization help us?
Well, it's easier to train people. It's easier to give them repair and maintenance devices, right? If it's standard, if all batteries are of the same type, you can, train people on how to repair batteries. Otherwise, it's easier to just take it out and replace the whole thing. Um, Sensors and components, totally new things, right? The number of things that are required in EVs, not just because of the fuel system being electric, but also how EVs are just modern cars. They have all these sensors and everything. So if they're, say, one company has a different type of sensor, another has a different type of sensor, how many different types of training will you need to
Yes,
have?
how many times the poor guy has to learn every time a new technology
Yeah,
comes
yeah, yeah.
up?
You know, that's the whole thing. So you have to standardize so that people can learn and that switching of things are easier. But then you also have to make sure that things that are at the end of life or otherwise are recyclable. So create that recycling infrastructure, right? There is a lot of valuable material in these batteries,
Yes.
right? Rare earth metals, there's lithium, there's graphite. Not everything can be extracted. We talked about it the other day, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
if you were to look at the vehicles battery recycling market, I mean, it's already $9 billion in the US
Right.
alone, right? And it's likely to become nearly $60 billion, $55 billion by 2031. It's a 25% growth rate. So somebody's going to make money from recycling. The
Yes.
better part would be if it is done faster and easier, reducing the cost of
Yes.
batteries, and therefore total cost of ownership will come down. And you know, we talk about training. It's actually important to move from training to certification, because see, think about it. Uh, there are so many different companies coming up with their EVs.
Yes.
If there is a standardized certification thing where here is a technician who's trained for EV repairs and they know how to dismantle batteries, they will not make as many mistakes. This will lead to an effect of the cost of repair going down, but also cost of consumer
The confidence level.
dissonance that will
Yes.
come down, so
Yes.
confidence will go up, and as a
Right.
result people will buy more easier, scale going up, everything comes down, right? So I think certification doesn't only give you training, it also gives you respect that people know how to do that, so that should be done.
Right. Understood. And what what are the other things that you think we can do?
Well, you can do some preemptive things, right? Like make the health of the car materially better. So do health monitoring of the EV, right? So battery life can be maintained better. Just like for any lithium-ion battery, right? If your charge cycles are better, if you are not leaving it overcharged, and if you're doing the charging cycle in the right manner, timely reminders for service center visits is another thing you could do, right? So battery maintenance otherwise, plus getting serviced. This is a different type of service required. So doing those will improve the quality of the vehicle and therefore less likelihood to get into repair. Consumer education is important, right? Tell
Yes.
them that EVs are actually going to have these problems and not those problems. There is so much storytelling about EVs will not have these problems, and then this charging story is just everywhere. People don't want to touch it because chargers are not there. But then they should be aware of how to increase the life of the battery in the EVs, how to take care of this. This will first inform and then dispel myths. So consumer education is another thing that should be done, I think.
Right. And I think videos made by consumers themselves, they will also go a long way. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you have enthusiasts talking about this, it's materially better than some central body doing, right? Even in the US, the ChargeX thing has enthusiasts on it, plus the government, plus
It's
the
a whole consortium.
association. So yeah,
Yes.
everyone getting together, and especially led by people who are going to be only buying EVs in 5 years, right? So there'll be just so many customers talking about it. That'll be the right thing to do. So yeah, I mean, improving repair mechanisms, standardizing, training and certification, having the right infrastructure, recycling, also providing for better health and consumer confidence through education. These are the things that will really improve the overall EV ecosystem, reduce the cost of ownership, be nice to the environment, and
Yeah.
all of us will be driving fancy, stylish cars, and hopefully a lot more reusable batteries.
Fair enough. This was an insightful discussion, Manish. Thank you so much for this. I would like to ask my viewers, what has your experience been driving your EVs? And more importantly, if you had to go to repair center, do you think that the repairs were just too exorbitant to justify having an EV? Please do let us know in the comment section below. See you next time. Thank you.
Oh, fun talking with you. Thanks.